Let's take a look at the first piece of this, which is to add functionality to the buttons that we have in this assignment off on the side. So I'm going in here and I have a bunch of functions already created. I'm not going to actually use those right now. What we want to focus on right now is just the big, medium, and small. So we have three buttons that exist. You've probably created all the rest of them. I currently just have these three. And so it needs to have a function to do that, right? So big. And so what do we want to do if they click the big button? And this is where it gets kind of astonishing when you realize how easy this is. Because really, what we want to do, we don't want to draw a big circle. We just want to tell the computer, hey, they've clicked the big button, which means they want the radius of our circle or whatever we want to say, but they want the size to get bigger. It doesn't draw it. The draw function handles the actual drawing of the circle. So all we need is some sort of global variable, and we can call it whatever we want. Let's maybe call it size, because that's what we're dealing with here. And when they click the big button, the size is going to change to something rather big, such as maybe 100. And it's up to you what size you want to make it. You could play with different things and see what you like. And that's all this button is going to do, because it's just a kind of a one function button. When you click this button, the size changes, and that's it. And because of that, you suddenly realize that these buttons, even though there's so many different things going on, that it doesn't really matter. Wondering if you can hear my dog? Probably can. So all I have to do then is do this more times. And set the size to different sizes. So each button just does one simple thing. And again, you could play with these numbers and decide what you consider a medium, what you consider a big, what you consider a small. And as you play with those, then you're like, okay, that's nice. I can set these, but what's it actually going to do? Like, I can run this program. I don't know if I can actually run this program. I might have errors because I didn't do anything here. Let's see if I can just run the program. Okay, so I click them, and it's like, that's nice. What do they actually do? I changed a variable. Well, that's where the draw is going to come in. Before we do that, one other thing. I've just created a global variable called size that I use 3 times. So that's where I have to come up here to my top. And I had a thing up here that said set global variables. Here, size needs to be something to begin. Let's just say we want to draw a circle before we click on any of the buttons. What's our default size? So maybe the first circle is 50, so that it's kind of the medium size. So okay, so now we're ready to draw, right? So this is just drawing a circle. And we say, where do we want this circle to appear on the screen? Well, that's something that we're going to get to in a second. In the next one. Maybe we should have done that one first. But let's just make the circle appear, like, I guess there. Yeah, maybe we should have dealt with that one first, but let's try this out anyway. And, oh, I was going to put radius right here, but we called our variable size, right? So, okay, so now we have a size. So as the size changes, the size of the circle changes. And then the color. And we'll just make a red circle for right now. Oops. Circles also need an outside line. How thick is the outside line? So we could just make that 1 because that's the easiest. So it now draws a circle. And if I say big, it draws a big circle. If I say small, the problem is it just drew a small circle. It drew the circle right there. But because it's red and it doesn't erase what it's doing, we can't actually see that we've drawn that circle, right? So maybe if you don't believe me, we'll just set the size to be 10 to start. So it draws the small circle. And then if I click medium, it draws the medium circle. And if I click big, it draws the big circle. So we're going to get to the point where we can use the mouse to actually click that circle into different positions, but this is the button functionality. And once you have that done, you can realize to yourself, I could easily create a global variable for color, and instead of printing it always in red, why don't I just print it in a different color? Shape is a little trickier, and I'll go into detail on shape in another tutorial, but basically another global variable for shape, and when they click circle, the shape changes to a circle. When they click square, the shape changes to a square. That's not as obvious of how to do that down here because you can't just put something into a variable right here. There's no variable for the shape. So we'll have to make an if statement to do that. And we'll do that in a couple tips from now, but first we should probably get our actual mouse. The whole point of this thing is user interaction with a mouse. So let's get our mouse handler working in the next tutorial.